Hello, everybody. I hope to find your Christmas break going well. Happy New Year. That's coming up tomorrow. It's here before you know it. I can't believe I feel like we were just trick-or-treating with the kids, and now we're going to be trying to stay awake until midnight to bring in a new year. So I hope that you've had a good break and you've been enjoying your time with your family. I know I have. It's really cold outside, so I'm going to apologize in advance. We do have an extra dog or two in the house because it is so cold, and trying to keep them quiet and away is like herding cats. So I do apologize in advance if we have any issues with that. Let's get started so I can get you on with your day. So we're going to go and do a quick recap from last week. Like I said we would, chapters 1, 4, and 5. Just a quick run over. I don't plan to spend much time on this. Chapter 1 talked about management. And this talks about the different types of management, the being efficient, being effective, the different functions of a manager, the different types of managers. I apologize. There's middle managers, frontline managers, team leaders. Let's see. This was the thing we focused on the most with this chapter was the top 10 mistakes managers make. And we've probably all seen them, and we've probably all contributed to them at one point in time. Our discussion talked about this exhibit, so we did get a lot of topic time on it. So it was probably one of the things that I remembered most about the chapter. The next part that I really wanted everyone to take away from this chapter is the training and skill development. If everyone read through the discussions like they were supposed to and contributed to the discussions, you should remember one of the students talking about working at the hotel, and on their second day, they were pretty much sent on their way to do the job, and they hadn't had the training, and they hadn't been given the skill development, and they were just kind of left on their own to take care of over 300 people checking into the hotel, and it caused kind of a issue, and it made it difficult. That's something you don't want your employees to do, is to feel like they've been left deserted. You want to give them the skills, you want to help them know their job and to be confident, because in the end they're doing a job that you're not having to do because you hired them. So let's train them well, get them to do good, because if you make them look good, they're going to make you look good, and in the end you have to do less work. I'm sure the manager that didn't help the student at the hotel, I'm sure they had a lot of cleanup to do. They probably had a lot of angry customers. They probably had a lot of paperwork to do. So if they would have given the right tools and the right training, they could have prevented a lot of the aftermath of the issues that it caused. So that was a quick summary of chapter 1. Let's hit chapter 4 really quick. Like I said, we're just trying to hit the high points. Ethics and social responsibility. And on this, if you have been hired to a job anytime recently, you've had the questions asked. You've had the ethics where you have to sign and say you agree to the way the company's trying to run their business, and you promise that you're not going to steal, and you promise you're not going to lie, and that's what this chapter talks about. So there are guidelines that impose fees for companies that aren't following the rules that punish unethical behavior, but they put in place some guidelines that are smaller fines when a company is taking proactive steps. So what does that mean? Whenever I get hired on at a company, I work in the finance field, so credit and financials. And so whenever I am looking for a job, they always are checking my credit. They're checking my background. They're checking my see if I have any drugs. They're calling my references. They're making sure I have my degrees. They're going through and they're taking those proactive steps to make sure that I'm an ethical person. Since I do work with hundreds of thousands of dollars on a daily basis, I'm looking at people's social security numbers. I'm dealing with their credit cards. They want to make sure that they aren't hiring some person off the street that is laundering money. They're putting in those steps to try to prevent any unethical decision making. So that's one thing that could contribute to a lower fine if something were to happen. They are trying to be proactive. the chapter had a lot of great information in it. So if you have any questions over that, those were the big things I took away from chapter 4. Chapter 5, planning and decision making. This is a good chapter because it's and this whole book has been really good about real life scenarios in the workplace. You're going to come across employers who are aloof and cold and insensitive, and they make these mistakes. You're going to come across companies that are planning for the future and companies that are not planning for the future. So this book is really covering the topics really well about real life scenarios, and I haven't come across anything yet that I just thought was totally out there and not relevant to the workplace. So this is about decision making. It talks about the benefits of decision making and the pitfalls. The reason that you want to be with a company that is forward thinking is you want to be with a company that's constantly growing. They're developing, changing, and they're willing to develop. And I mean, you don't want to bank with a bank that still, takes all your deposits by hand and puts everything in, and it doesn't go through a computer and they pull out the logs. You want a company that's growing and changing and thinking, and they're technologically changing. You can sign into your account with your thumbprint or whatever. You're always wanting a company that's thinking ahead. They have a 5-year plan. Our plan is to be the best in customer service. Ours is to grow by 25%. Planning from the top to the bottom is how it generally starts. You have to set budgets. You have to set goals. There has to be a purpose statement of what the company is there, what they exist. To this day, I can tell you what my company that I worked for roughly 10 years, I can tell you their mission statement and their vision statement. And it was their purpose for being and what they were trying to accomplish. So that's just part of forward thinking and moving forward. So chapter 5, great chapter. Like I said, this was just a quick overview. I was short last week and I wanted to just kind of cover everything. I saw that I did get discussions from everybody. If you didn't email me yet, I have not logged on whether or not you did email me what you were supposed to from our first video. So I'll let you squeak that in if you can get it done by the end of the year. So please do that. I heard that some people were having some questionable situations with EBSCOhost. So I've been working with the librarian. If you are still having problems with that, let me know. Hopefully you've all taken the quiz. Let's move on to week 2 and see what we got going on there. All right, so this week we covered chapters 10, 13, and 14. And on chapter 10, it's managing teams. So I understand teams, and then I also get frustrated with teamwork. Teams are great whenever you're trying to accomplish something. You can get a group of people together with different complementary skills. I'm really good with numbers, where I have someone that I work with that's really good at with forward thinking and drafting ideas, and then I have someone who's really good about cleaning up the little details. And so, getting a group of people together to work as a team to do things is great, especially if everyone's contributing. And that would be my biggest advice, is if you are put on a work team or a school team or something like that, make sure you are doing your contribution and you're not pulling everyone down or having everyone else pull your weight. And that's one of the things that the chapter talks about is social loafing. Team members withhold their efforts and fail to perform their share of the work because somebody else is going to do it. And that's where I kind of come up with the issue of teams. When I was doing both my undergrad and my master's, I got put on a team, and quite frequently we would have that one loafing student who didn't pull their part, or they thought they were doing a really good job, I guess, and they weren't putting in quality work. So that's the disadvantages of teams. Just don't be that person that isn't doing their part, because people are going to remember that. And to this day, I remember the teammates through school that didn't pull their part. And if it came to a real world scenario where I had to choose them or someone else, I would choose someone else. So make sure that you play your part, you contribute. And if you are someone overseeing teams, make sure you recognize when someone isn't pulling their part, and make sure that they're not getting a big recognition when they're not doing anything for the team. The chapter covers when to use teams, when not to use teams. That was helpful. And another thing about forming teams is, you have to decide whether it's better to if you're forming teams at work or through a school, you have to decide if it's better to let the teams form themselves, or if it's better for you to form the teams. They both have their negatives and they both have their positives. So if you're letting teams form themselves, I tend to find the weaker people form a team due to the stronger people forming a team without them. But when you break up the team and form them yourself, you tend to get the stronger people doing more of the work than the weaker people. And so it's kind of, give or take what's better. So that's just kind of something you're going to have to learn to read and decide on your own on how to form teams in the future. Let's move on to the next chapter, chapter 13, motivation. So this one is probably my favorite chapter to date, because motivation, or how you try to motivate, or if you do not motivate, is a big part of keeping people around. So whenever I started working with community care college, I had to do a presentation over getting people to work cohesively, to incentivize them in what to do. And a big part of my presentation was exactly what this chapter talks about. Whenever you have people working for you, you have to see what really gets them motivated, because let's be honest, we aren't working because we're bored at home and we just need something to do. Most of us are going to work because we're wanting to make money, we're wanting to grow as a person, we're wanting to move up in a company. We want that self fulfillment of accomplishing things. We're not just here because we just have nothing better to do, because I promise I can be at home in the pool doing nothing and I would be quite happy with that. But so you have to get people interested and motivated and get them to want to perform for you, and you have to find out what motivates them. Is it intrinsic, extrinsic? It talks about that in the chapter, and I love that it's in the chapter, because like I said, when I did my interview at Community Care College, that's what I talked about before I ever read this book. So when I got to this chapter, I found it super interesting that that's what the discussions were. So let's go back to this chapter and kind of do some of the topic recaps. So here is where we're talking about the extrinsic reward, intrinsic reward. Do they want something tangible, or are they wanting cash? What are they wanting? Is it intrinsic, or is it, hey, I moved up and that feels great to me. I like knowing that I'm growing in the company and I'm doing better and better. So figure out what really gets somebody motivated. And this chapter kind of relates to one of the homework assignments, and we'll kind of come back to this here in just a little bit. The best example I can give with motivating people is, I used to work for Enterprise, We'll Pick You Up, the car company. I worked in the accounting department, and we had a team of over 100 associates, and I was in charge of a group of them. And all of us managers would get together, and we made a program where they could win half-hour increments of time off. And at Enterprise, it was really nice to have that extra time, because the way that you earned your time was different than most companies. So employees really, really wanted to earn these half hours off. And it's, no skin off of the company, because it's just a half hour here and there. So the employees would really work on getting to the top of their team, because if you were at the top of your team, you would get a half hour. But if you were top overall, you would get like bonus bucks to spend at the company store. And that had some pretty neat stuff. So that is how we incentivized our employees and got them to kind of challenge each other and to compete with each other. But not all of my employees really cared about the time off. I had some employees that they wanted to be at work. That's why they were there. They really loved what they were doing. And so they enjoyed the recognition of, in front of everyone, hey, look, Tammy did a really good job. She, so you have to find out if they want that competition, or if they want just recognition, or exactly what gets them going, because it can really make or break you. It can make your job a lot easier if someone has an incentive to do well for you. So that kind of covers this chapter. You'll see if someone has something to work for, that their attitude and their who they are is just going to be different than if they are just coming to work. They want to come to work to feel good about themselves, to grow. So give them something to grow for. So chapter 14 talks about leadership. And this kind of goes back to everything we've been talking about. If you want to coach people, you want to be a leader. Have you ever seen the memes where, let's see if we can find it, a leader versus a boss meme? And this is what I think about right here, this picture. This is what I think about when I think of leader, is this is who you want to be. You want to be part of the team, taking them forward, helping them grow. You don't want to be up here being the boss. I'm sure it's fun being the boss, but in the end, you're going to get a lot more respect, and you're going to get a lot more accomplished when you are a leader versus a boss. So that's the first thing I think about as soon as I see leadership, is being willing to be a part of the team and not directing orders. So that's how I see leadership and what I think leadership is. It's the process of influencing others to achieve group or organizational goals. Now, if you are here and you're trying to get everybody on board with something you're wanting to do, it's going to be a lot easier than sitting up here going, no, this is for the good of everybody. Well, get down here and help us. So that's my perspective. Behaviorals, just make sure. The biggest advice I can give you, I've been a manager for many, many, many years, and the biggest advice I can give you is be the manager that you want managing you. You have to set goals for people. You have to give them something to work for, to give them direction. You have to give them deadlines. You have to hold them accountable. But just be the manager and treat people the way, it's so cliche, but treat people the way you want to be treated. I have two managers because I work for a community care college, and I work for Ferguson, right across the street from community care college. And both of my bosses really just gave me the reins, and they sat beside me and, hey, what can we do? What can I do to help you? Let's do this. Let's work as a team. And I've had it a different way, where we had the manager that was up on, this is how you do it. Go do it this way. And I'm going to tell you, I've performed so well in the past, several months, couple of years, because I've had that kind of leadership in my life versus the bossy leadership. So, I try to be the leader type whenever I have my employees too. And there's nothing more fulfilling than seeing someone progress and to move up in a company and to really be successful because of something, a fire you lit in them, where you gave them, you opened all kinds of doors for them because you were a leader instead of a boss. So that's really important to me, and that's really what I took away from this chapter. There's going to be several different types of leadership styles out there between all of you in the class, because we all have different backgrounds. We all are in different situations. Because I can be lenient and do specific things in my industry doesn't necessarily mean you can do it in yours. You just have to find what works best for you and your company. Make sure that you're making good ethical decisions and you're really encouraging people to grow and to make good decisions. And in the end, we're all here to get a job done, and it's easier if we all work together, whether you're the manager, the boss, the leader, and to not make anyone's life any harder than it has to be. So that's kind of what I'm taking away from the book. If you take something else different, that's great. That's another thing about diversity, is we can all have a different perspective of things. So that was chapters 10, 13, and 14. So I want to go back over the homepage here in just a minute. And before I do that, I was going to hop into the homework assignments and the discussions. This discussion 2.1 needs to be done before Tuesday. And I think there was some confusion about that in week 1. So if you got it in late, don't worry about it. I'm like I said, this is my first time to do this class, and so I may not have made things clear, but the discussion is due on Tuesday, so I can show participation, and then you're going to respond to my request from this video to show the second day of participation. So do the discussion, respond to everybody by Tuesday, or do at least 2 responses, go in there and interact. I'll go in there and interact too, because since we're not meeting live, it kind of gives us an opportunity to chat with one another. So that's due by 2, and all of your other homework is due by next Saturday, and that gives you all week and all day Saturday to do your homework and get it turned in, ask me questions. I don't have virtual hours on Saturdays, but please don't let that stop you from reaching out. I answered quite a few text messages and emails today, and I absolutely don't mind. The only thing is, on Saturdays, I'm not always at a computer, but I will do what I can, even if I have to pull some resources to get you an answer. So we did have some EBSCO host issues today, and we just emailed the librarian and try to go from there. So definitely reach out if you have any questions. So discussion 2.1, I'll go and I'll answer it here later, or maybe I'll answer it now. Let's see. It says clearly identify one of the following topics, and I think I would choose cross-training on this, because most of my adult career was in the banking industry, where they really focused on cross-training. And what that would mean is cross-training in the banking world is we had tellers and we had loan officers. So these tellers eventually are hoping, or you hope that they want to eventually be a loan officer. So you're going to slowly give them more tools and more skills to be more independent and slowly grow towards being a loan officer. So maybe you would first start out where they could have someone sign a signature card, or they could open a debit card, which is not typically a teller position, but that is something you would slowly start them out at to get them moving towards, wanting to grow and wanting to be a loan officer. So describe in detail your own experience with work or school team in which the chosen topic occurred. That would be my example. Reference the book, and then describe how the team experience might have improved or been more effective. So I'd probably pick one exact experience so I can talk about how it might have been improved or more effective. So make sure you're going through, reminding you this week that you're going through and laying out the format correctly, that you're following this grading rubric. We had to go back and talk about, I had sent out an email making sure you were following all the directions up here. Make sure you read everything, follow the directions, and discussion 2.1 seems simple enough. If you have any questions, let me know. The assignments actually look pretty simple as well. I've already looked at those. Create a reward list that can be tied to employee performance. And so this is kind of, remember I said we were going to go back to the chapters. This talks about what is motivating people. Are they intrinsic? Are they extrinsic? Do they want cash? Do they want time off? So this is a fun little assignment. You can survey 3 people, however you want to do that. follow the directions right here, talking about 1 through 10. Attach or paste the list of survey rankings. So make sure, again, follow the directions and get that turned in by next Saturday. Assignment 2.2. This is a real life scenario, and I've actually had to do something very similar to this. It's giving you a budget, and you're having to cut your budget by 25%, and they want you to explain what you would do to cut said budget and where are you going to make your cuts. And so this is a real life scenario. Check it out and do it and go from there. Last but not least, I said I wanted to cover a little bit on the homepage. Before we go to the homepage, this live lecture submission, people, I guess I confused you last week, and I'm sorry. Like I said, it's my first time to do this, and so I'm still learning. I appreciate you working with me. I'll give you a simple task to show that you watched this video, and you can just email it to me. It's easy for me that way. So let's go back home to my course connection. Okay, let's see. Jump to. All right. So on this page, I want to again cover, I know that some instructors use a calendar. I don't use the calendar, but if it's something you need, I can try to do it more. But do follow these due dates. I live and die by these due dates. So this is what's important to me. Make sure that you know where we are. So here's the live lecture recording. That's today. I'm doing that now, so you'll have it all next week. Discussion 2.1, due by Tuesday. Make sure by Thursday you have your substantial comment to peer post 2 of those, meaning you're going back in here on discussion 2.1 and you're contributing to the conversation. And make sure it's meaningful. And this kind of comes back to making sure you're pulling your weight as a team member. You don't want to go in there and be like, oh, that's great. Sorry that happened. Better luck next time. You want to go in and give really good, beefy information and give someone some good feedback. That's being fair and pulling your weight as a team member. So by Friday, I want you to do the live lecture summary, which I'm going to have you email me what I need. And I have all the homework turned in for Saturday. So Saturday's assignment 2.1, 2.2, we covered those. The quiz, 1 shot at that, and that's all over chapters 10, 13, and 14. So what are we going to do for the live lecture summary? I would really appreciate everyone to email me by Friday, the live lecture summary date. Email me what you did for the new year. How did you bring it in? And resolutions, no one ever sticks to a resolution, but everybody has something that they want to work on. So tell me what you would like to work on for you in 2018. So my plans for New Year's Eve, I have my nephew is up from Texas. He's 8 years old. I have a 9-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter. She just turned 6. And we're all going down to Henrietta. I'm from the Bulgaria. We're all going to Henrietta. We're going to stay in the hotel with the pool, go swimming, play some board games. And that's how we're bringing in the new year. So my mom's going to be there. So it sounds like fun, and that's our plans. So for 2018, if I had to pick something to improve on, to be better at, I would honestly say the patience with my children. Sometimes I get really busy and I let some of the littlest things bug me, and I shouldn't. And so that's what I'm going to work on for 2018 is just being a more patient parent. And I'm going to try to remember that, they're not going to be little forever. Time's going to move on, and I'm going to want these days back. So that's my focus for 2018 is the kids and being more patient and more understanding. So I really didn't get to talk about much about me, so I'm going to do a quick rundown, and then I'll let you get on with your holiday weekend. I I do work full time with a company called Ferguson Enterprises. We are directly across the street from Community Care College, a little, well, kind of north of the building. You can see Ferguson from the front steps of Community Care. We are currently rebuilding because our building was taken out during the tornado on August 6th. So I office out of there. And I'm telling you this because if you're ever needing to get tutoring or you ever need to meet face to face, once we're back in our building, hopefully by April, I'll be right across the street if I have you in any future classes. But if you need to talk now, I'm not too far away. So I can always swing over to the school and meet with you and go over things with you as well. Always feel free to call, text, and email. Let's see. I live down in the Okmulgee area. I graduated with my MBA going on 2 years ago. I've always wanted to teach college courses. I started trying to teach with another college, actually my undergrad, St. Gregory's, and I was actually in the process of working for them whenever the school decided that they were going to close, and I was lucky enough to be snatched up by Dee, and here I am. So I'm really excited to be here. I really enjoy teaching. I really enjoy people. I like being busy. I like chaos. Chaos keeps me going. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to learn more about you guys. And I hope that you all have a wonderful new year. And I hope that if you have any questions, you feel free to reach out. And if you come across anything in the on my course connection or anything that looks off, let me know because I will go in and get that fixed. And I really appreciate all of your time. And if you have any questions, I'll talk to you soon. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I'll see you next week.